Hi everyone, Zach Pakoff here, and welcome back to another lesson video. Today, I will be going over the 4-1 work together. So let's jump right into the video. Okay, so as I had stated before, I'm going to be going over the 4-1 work together. In the last video, I read over the 4-1 text. If you did miss that video for any reason, please click the link in the description. But anyway, today I will be going over the 4-1 work together, where we will be preparing a chart of accounts and opening an account. So the instructions say, forms are given in the working papers. Your instructor will guide you through the following examples. Clara Ross owns a service business called Ross Company, which uses these accounts. Alright, so as we can see here, we have a bunch of accounts that are listed here. And it also says down here for number 1, prepare a chart of accounts. Arrange expense accounts in alphabetical order. Use 3-digit account numbers and number the accounts within a division by tens. For number 2, this one reads, 2 new accounts, postage expense and utilities expense, are to be added to the chart of accounts prepared in instruction 1. Assign account numbers to the 2 new accounts. And for number 3, this one reads, using the account form and the working papers, open cash. Okay, so now that I've read over the instructions for the 4-1 work together, let's jump right into it. Alright, so now we'll be moving on to part 1 of this work together. And the first thing that we're going to do is put in the name of the company, which is going to be Ross Company. Then below that, we're going to put in the name of the form, which is going to be chart of accounts. Then, below that, we're going to put balance sheet accounts on the left. And then, we're going to put income statement accounts on the right. And we're going to start with our balance sheet accounts. So the first accounts that we list on our balance sheet accounts would be our asset accounts. So what we're going to do is we're going to put 100 and then assets. And what this means is that all asset accounts will have 3-digit numbers beginning with 1. And the first account that we're going to list on our balance sheet accounts for our assets is going to be cash. And we're going to assign that account the number 110. Next, we'll be moving on to our accounts receivable accounts because there is no petty cash account that is listed on this conjumbled list of accounts here. So since the accounts receivable accounts are people's names, we're going to list those in alphabetical order by last name. So the first account would be accounts receivable, Megan Alvarez, and that account would be assigned the number 120. Next would be accounts receivable, Tyler Link, and this account would be assigned to the number 130. The next account that would be listed for our asset accounts on the balance sheet accounts would be supplies, and that account would have the number 140. And the last account that would be listed on here would be prepaid insurance, and that account would have the number 150. Alright, so that is all the asset accounts. Now we'll be moving on to the liability accounts. Okay, so now that we're done with assets, we'll now be moving on to liabilities. So what we're going to do here is the first thing that we're going to do is put 200 in liabilities. And what this means is that all liability accounts will have 3-digit numbers beginning with 2. And the vendors' names will be alphabetized. In other words, we're going to put their names in alphabetical order. So the first account that we're going to list here is going to be accounts payable Mid-City Supplies. And we're going to assign that account the number 210. The next account is going to be accounts payable Shearer Supply, and that account is going to have the number 220. Okay, so that is the end of our liability accounts. Now we'll be moving on to the owner's equity accounts. Alrighty, so the last accounts that are going to be listed on our balance sheet accounts are going to be our owner's equity accounts. And what we're going to do here is put in 300 and then owner's equity. And what this means is that all owner's equity accounts will have 3-digit numbers beginning with 3. So the first account that's going to be listed here is going to be the owner's capital account, and that is Clara Ross Capital. And we're going to assign that account the number 310. The next account that's going to be listed here is going to be the owner's drawing account, which is Clara Ross Drawing. And we're going to assign that account the number 320. And there is no income summary account that's listed in the accounts, but if it was, we would include that and number it 330. All right, so that is the end of the owner's equity accounts, and it's also the end of our balance sheet accounts. So now we'll be moving on to the income statement accounts. Okay, so now we're going to be moving on to our income statement accounts. And the first type of account that we list for our income statement accounts would be our revenue accounts. So the first thing that we're going to do is put in 400 here and then revenue. And what this means is that all revenue accounts will have 3-digit numbers beginning with 4. So we're going to list all of our revenue accounts here. And it looks to me that in this work together, we only have one revenue account that's listed, and that is sales. So we're going to assign that account the number 410. If there was more than one revenue account that was listed here, we would list them after sales. And then we would assign them the following account numbers, so it'd be 420, 430, and so forth. So that is the end of the revenue accounts. And now we'll be moving on to the last type of account, which is an expense. Alrighty, so now we'll be moving on to the last type of account, which would be an expense account. So the first thing that we're going to do is put in 500 and then expenses. And what this means is that all expense accounts will have 3-digit numbers beginning with 5. So the instructions said to arrange expense accounts in alphabetical order. And the first account that's going to be listed here will be automobile expense. And we're going to assign that account the number 510. The next account that's going to get listed here will be insurance expense. And we're going to assign that account the number 520. The next account that's going to get listed here is going to be miscellaneous expense. And we're going to assign that account the number 530. The next account that will be listed here is going to be rent expense, and we're going to assign that account the number 540. And finally, the last account that's going to get listed here will be supplies expense, and that account is going to get assigned the number 550. Okay, so that is the end of the expenses. It's the end of the income statement accounts. And it's also the end of the first part of the work together. So now we'll be moving on to part 2. Okay, so now we'll be moving on to part 2, in which we'll be adding 2 new accounts to the chart of accounts. So the first thing that we're going to do here is put down new accounts. And then the 2 new accounts that are going to get added to the chart of accounts are going to be postage expense and utilities expense. Now, we have to assign each of these accounts numbers. So postage expense would fall between miscellaneous expense and rent expense, and we would split the difference. So this account would get the number 535. Now, for utilities would come all the way at the bottom after supplies expense. And since we're not splitting the difference on this one, we can go up a full 10, and this account will get assigned the number 560. Okay, so that is the end of part 2. Now we'll be moving on to part 3. Alrighty, so now we're going to be moving on to part 3, which is the last part of this work together. And we're going to be opening an account in a general ledger. So the account that we're going to be opening is cash. And all we do in opening an account is we simply write out the account title, and then we assign the account number to it. So when we open cash, we're going to put in cash for the account, and then we're going to put in the number 110 for the account number. And we just opened cash. Okay, so that is the end of the 4-1 work together. In the next video, I will be going over the 4-2 text. All right, thank you.